You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 107. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Hello, welcome back to the Release Your Resistance podcast, or welcome for the first time if this is the first episode that you are listening to. I'm so excited to bring you another interview today with my friend and colleague, Zayne Khan. The genesis for this episode came as Zayne and I were having a friendly conversation, and unbeknownst to him, he asked me a very general question about my journaling practice, and I just went crazy. I just had to tell him all about it, and he took the bait. He got very excited about it and decided to start his own journaling practice. So then I thought we needed to have a podcast episode where he discusses his transformation from someone who was not journaling to someone who is now journaling and everything that's come as a side benefit of that transformation. Listen all the way through to this fun and interesting and conversational interview. And if you want to follow Zayne or get in touch with Zayne, you can easily get his contact information on the show notes for this episode at bexb.org/Zayne. That's Zayne. And yeah, let's just go straight into the interview. Hey Zayne, how's it going?
It's going amazing. I'm so excited to talk about journaling with you today.
I am so excited too, because you have recently been through what I consider kind of like a little mini journaling transformation. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think for the longest time, I love the idea of journaling, I would see all these YouTubers make it look so glamorous and have these beautiful aesthetics. And I wanted that so bad, but I also have so much resistance to it too. Like I felt like it's something I should be doing and not something I genuinely wanted to do. So I think that was a huge dynamic for me.
I love that you describe it that way, because this podcast is about resistance, recognizing and releasing resistance. And what you just said is exactly how I try to make people understand what I mean when I say resistance. It's something that we think we should do, and it could be about anything. We have this thought, oh, I should do it, or I want to do it. And then we have another thought, but I don't want to do it, or I can't do it, or I don't know how to do it, or I couldn't do it the way that I want to do it, so I'm not going to do it. So is that kind of how you were feeling when I first talked to you about journaling?
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like I really want to journal. Like I want to have the aesthetics and the growth and the improvement, but I feel like there's a specific way of doing it that the YouTubers do it, right? I need to make it look like that. And when I would sit down to journal, sometimes it would feel very forced and unnatural. It's like, okay, I need to get some sort of insight or some sort of progress from this one journaling session. And that created so much resistance for me to the point where I would just put it aside and try again in like 2 weeks and then get the same result because I was thinking the same thoughts.
Oh, that's so, I can already tell this conversation is going to be so helpful for anyone who also shares a resistance about journaling, but also for anyone who shares a resistance about anything, because we can just substitute in the word journaling for online dating or applying to a new job or moving houses or whatever, we do exactly what you just described. We think we should do something, but then we build up this expectation because of our thoughts, and then it doesn't turn out that way. And then we don't want to continue doing it. And it's just a cycle. A couple of weeks ago, I don't even know if it was like 2 months ago, you and I were having a conversation, just a friendly conversation. You asked me something about why do I journal, or how did I get into journaling? So let's take you back to that moment when you were still in that resistant state that you were talking about. And how I describe that is journal curious. I think there are 3 types of people in the world, non-journalers, journal curious, and journal lovers. So I think at that time you were journal curious. Would you agree?
Definitely. I love the idea of it, but the
Mhm.
actual practice of it was still a little bit nebulous and foreign for me.
You just asked some kind of like a general, polite question, and I was probably like, blah, 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 like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And so, what did you think at
Well,
that
you seem
conversation?
so like passionate about journaling. And I asked you how, and you talked about how you had watched a YouTuber who was really into journaling as well. And you just decided when you watched her that the reason why she is so insightful and thoughtful is because she journals every day. And you just decided in that moment, like, yeah, that's why. And you talked about how you journaled pretty consistently from that point on. And I was like, so I get to just decide that I can enjoy journaling. Like I can drop all of these expectations that I have for it. And that sparked so much curiosity for me. Because again, I was approaching journaling with a sense of obligation, which is never a good feeling when you want to create a healthy habit. But after that, I was like, what if this can be really transformational, and what if this can engender so much growth in a way that's on my terms? And from that point on, I was like, I'm going to do this. And I think another big point that we talked about was like, try it even if you don't feel like it. That's different when it's coming from, again, obligation versus curiosity. Because even the next day, when I journaled in the morning, I didn't necessarily feel like it, but I was still open to the idea. And then the actual journaling session was absolute magic, because I was
Mm.
coming from it from such an open place.
And then for 1 or 2 days you journaled, right?
Mhm.
And then you sent me an email like on the second or third day. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Do
It
you?
was so magical. I just had so many like random insights that I didn't know were just flowing around in my brain. I managed to do so many things that I thought were unrelated to journaling, like cooking more and being open to trying more vegetables, which helped with my diet and weight loss journey. I already had an idea that journaling would be so helpful for me, but I didn't realize all of these like random byproducts that would come out as a result of just being open and curious.
Yeah. Okay, so I haven't told you this part of the story yet.
Yeah.
So you sent that email to me and I saw it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was just so impressed and happy for you and proud, that I shared it with you, but proud of you for doing. I mean, it was just like so good because your email was just so full of passion and emotion. I thought, wow, that's amazing. I can't wait till the next time I talk to Zayne. We can talk about journaling again and this transformation. And then that night, I was with my sister. Somehow the topic of journaling came up, as it often does in my presence. And she said that a professional that she's working with had recommended that she journal, and she
Mm.
wasn't that into it, and it was an obligation, and she was trying, and some of the reasons that a lot of people have for not journaling. And I said, hold on, I want to read you an email. And I
Oh, I
read
love
her,
that.
yes, I read her part of your email, and she started crying.
Oh, no way.
Yes, she was so
Oh,
touched by hearing how you had tried it. And yeah, it was such a beautiful,
that
I
makes me
thought,
want to
wow.
cry. I love that.
And I had completely forgotten to tell you that until
Yeah.
just now when we were talking about it again. That, yeah, it was, yeah. So even a stranger who didn't know you, who heard about you third hand through an email, was able to pick up on how much it changed for you just in those
Yeah.
couple of days of journaling.
Well, that's incredible. And it feels like it's a secret I'm holding on to now that I need to share with everyone. So that's why I'm just so grateful to even be here talking about it. But I'm telling all of my friends, like, just try it, be open to it. There are so many things where we feel like we don't have very many ideas or we're not interesting. And I hear it all the time with my friends and even people online. And I genuinely believe that journaling is the answer to a lot of those problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Like,
so nice to hear that I could inspire someone else.
yeah. So to be a little bit more specific, when you
Yeah.
say journaling could be the answer to problems, like I
Mm.
know in my life how it
Hmm.
helps me personally,
Yeah.
and you're maybe a little newer to it. Are you continually journaling daily right now, or are
Yeah,
you
I
still
missed like
putting
a
it?
couple days since our call, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been journaling ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of problems would you say journaling helps you with?
Yeah, so I was stuck in this phase of consumption in the mornings. The first thing I would do is check my phone. I get all these messages from friends, some of them being really nice, like good morning. I would check the news, which often isn't so nice. Social media. It felt like I was starting my day off on someone else's terms. And I didn't like that. And I didn't even realize I didn't like it until I started journaling because it was something that I was so used to, just hearing constantly about other people's days or what's going on in the world. And it's like I was consuming so much information, but what was I actually creating? What was I being curious about in terms of what my own brain wants to produce? So when I started journaling, it was like this blank slate. I could just get all of my thoughts out onto paper. Had I not done that, had I not started doing that, I would have continued to just fill my brain with other people's thoughts, which isn't something I want to do so consistently. And it's definitely not something I want to do first thing in the morning without very much intention. So I think that's one big problem it solved. And then the other one was definitely coming up with new ideas. I had this thing for the longest time where I believed that I can learn so many things, but I'm not able to come up with my own unique insights. I didn't go into journaling thinking I would come up with all of these ideas, but they just came to me randomly. And that was the most magical part of it, where I had no expectation, but it just sort of happened. And now it's like happening consistently because I have that neural pathway in my brain to be creative and be generative. And it's just the most fun thing ever.
I love it. So let's get into the mechanics of it too, just because I'm so curious. So do you journal laying down in your bed, sitting at a desk in front of a window? Like, what's your preferred journaling state?
Yeah, I love to sit at a desk and really have that intention of like, okay, this is my journaling time. I think if I did it in bed, I would like fall asleep because it's also kind of a relaxing activity as well. So I sit down. I actually have like 5 journals at this point. I'm kind of in the process of switching some out. I think for me, it's really good to have different types of journals. So for me, I have some that are very prompt heavy, where they ask specific questions. And then I have some where I can just free write, which is really helpful for me as well. So I do like to sit down and write as if I'm doing something that's very structured, but also not at the same time. It's like structured but creative. It's this beautiful balance.
I love that. Yeah. And did you feel like you had to like follow a recipe or a plan or a strategy? Like, because I had told you exactly my morning routine, like how I sit in the position that I sit and how I grab everything. And I have a podcast episode about that too, how I lay out, how I do it. So did you feel like you needed to have that kind of a plan for yourself, or did you just let it evolve? How did you figure that out for yourself?
At the start, I thought I needed to fill all of the white space in my journal for that specific day. And that worked really well at the start. But again, the prompts do repeat themselves. So it became more and more difficult to do that moving forward. So now I'm kind of at this place where I'm making it work for me. It's like, what's the result that I want to create from this journaling session? And it's not to fill up all the white space. I don't need to do that. It's to gain some kind of insight or clear out my mind or just start the day off with a really great intention. So sometimes I will just do my 5-minute journal that my best friend got me for my birthday. And it's just so nice. It takes, again, 5 minutes. And I just set an intention, some affirmations, and it's just good to go from there. So I think finding out what works for you, that might be laying down in bed with a computer even, it might be with a journal that's heavy in prompts, like really exploring what could work well for you and going from there.
That's so helpful because just like you had noticed in your earlier attempts to journaling that if it didn't feel comfortable or if it didn't feel exactly right, then you were not likely to continue it the next day. And I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, well, it didn't work for me today, so I'm not going to do it tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, try something different tomorrow. Do it in a different space in your home, or be in a different position, or use a different notebook or journal or technology. Yeah.
It's like when they say people who don't like reading just haven't found the right book. I think it's the same for journaling. It's like people who don't like journaling haven't found the right environment or the right journal, or maybe they're not in the right headspace to do it in that moment, but just being open and curious and getting over that initial resistance, I think could result in such magic, honestly.
So you mentioned that you've told a few of your friends now about your journaling practice. What's the response?
Yeah, they're super open and curious. I don't know if anyone has actually started it, but I think they are definitely thinking about it, and we still talk about it. And it's such a nice way to even connect with them when I'm sharing my experiences. They're seeing like, oh, wow, it's creating such an improvement for you. And they can sort of join in the like joy of that. which
Yeah.
I think is awesome. And I'm still committed to getting someone to actually journal consistently or at least try it at the start.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be good for my friends and anyone listening as well.
Yeah. Because I do love journaling and I talk about it all the time. I guess I am trying to push it on people because, like you, I believe in the benefit of it. So why not? Why keep the secret hidden, right? But a lot of times people tell me, oh, I tried it. It didn't work for me. I'm just not a writer. I don't have time. I don't, whatever. If you heard any of that now as a new journal evangelist, let's say, what do you think you would say in response?
I would say treat it like going to the gym or going for a walk because it is truly a mental exercise and a mental workout. That's what it is, and that's what it feels like every morning. I start the day off with just so much more intention, and I feel so much more aligned in what I want to do throughout the day. In the 2 days that I didn't journal, I felt so off. It felt like the entire day was like there was just something missing. And that's what it's like when you develop a habit that's really useful for you and that's serving you a lot. I think that's what I would say. Just treat it like walking or going to the gym because it truly is such a powerful mental exercise. And again, I will emphasize the openness and the curiosity. What if this can change my life? Like, ask yourself that, right? What if this can change my life? What if this can be really useful for me? And I think to just go from there. I just wanted to add that I love the notebook that's on your store, the brainstorming and bright ideas journal. I have so many ideas that are just like floating around in my brain, and I never like sometimes I write them on pieces of paper, but I don't intentionally sit down with them, and then they're gone. They're in the recycling like a week later, and that sucks. So just even finding a notebook or journal that has specific prompts that really resonate with you, because there are so many out there. And then you get to this place where you start asking yourself really powerful questions. We know from, our life coach school training that asking yourself great questions is powerful, but now it's becoming an automatic habit because with these prompts, I'm being asked questions and then I'm just in the habit of answering them. So then the questions just come to me themselves, it's just so helpful.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a habit or like a practice that maybe I have now gotten into. And it just now comes naturally that I ask myself a very empowering question versus a disempowering question. Or if I feel a little bit of writer's block, I'll think about, okay, well, what do I love to write about? Or what kind of prompts have gotten me really good results in the past? And then I start writing about that and it feels really good.
Yeah, and you can get even more meta and talk about why you don't feel like journaling in your journal session. That's what you offered to me.
Yeah.
I didn't need to do that because once I started journaling, it was, again, just so magical. But that's an option for people listening too is why don't you want to journal? What's that all about? Is there a block there? Is there something from your past that prevented you from wanting to journal now? Like, what is it?
I'm thinking of the people that I have met since I started my journaling meetups, and someone who recently came to one of them said he had never written with using prompts before. And it made him feel so much better using a journaling prompt versus just writing whatever came to his mind, which would have been an option too. Just having those empowering questions or having something specific to write about. All of my prompts that I use and that I share, they all have so much intention behind them.
Yeah.
It's just they're so specifically chosen to make us think or to open our minds to something or to remember something or to give ourselves credit for something. Yeah.
It's so powerful because when you ask your brain a question, it will come up with an answer. And
Right.
I think I was asking myself a lot of disempowering questions before. Why can't I lose weight? Why isn't this going my way? Why didn't I drink enough water today? Versus like, how can I drink more water today? How can I make doing the dishes fun today? And I think the journal prompts definitely created that space for me even more. Because you're right, like a lot of these prompts have such great intention behind them, and especially the ones you have in this notebook here and all your notebooks. I think it's just so powerful.
And I love that you got that notebook and you told me how you were using it. And when you told me, I was like, wait a second, that's not how you use it. Like, because that's not how I use it. So I'll talk about the notebook first. The reason why I created the notebook was for myself. I'm always my number one customer 100% of the time, right? And I, like you, noticed that I was having a lot of great ideas, but not always taking action on them and not always like developing them. And also having them scattered all around in various places Sometimes I would put them in Evernote. Sometimes it would be a Google Doc, sometimes a slip of paper, sometimes my journal. So I thought, wouldn't it be great just to have one notebook in one place with like a template of questions that I want to ask myself about every new great idea that I come up with, so that I can take all the new ideas through the same set of questions. And then they're all in one place. And even if I don't take action on it, I know where it is so that I can come back to it later when it is time. And so that was the idea behind it. I put it out in the world, and I'm on my second volume of it now because I use it and it's so good. And then you got it and you use it differently from how I use it. So talk about how you decided to put it into practice.
So I incorporate it in my daily journaling practice. It's not something that I just use for ideas that come to me randomly. I do use it for that as well, but I find that when I just sit down and have the prompts in front of me, an idea will come to me because I'm constantly having these ideas. They're just like overflowing at this point. It's not even a problem for me. So just sitting down with the journal and actually having the ideas come to me right in the morning and having that be something I do as a daily practice is so helpful. And it really helped me get over that fear that I'll never come up with as many great ideas as my teachers and my mentors. Because here I am coming up with such original, unique ideas that will change not only my life, but the lives of all of the people who will get to experience these concepts. So powerful.
Yes, I love it. And you've got the whole collection of them.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I really like is like, what was the generation of this idea? Where did this idea come from? Yeah. And my hope is that over time, we can see a pattern. Like, you know, so then we can think, oh, where do I get my best ideas? Or what is the thing that happens just before a good idea is generated? Like, let me do more of those kinds of things, or let me be in that place. Cool.
Yeah, different environments even. Like I get a lot of these ideas when I'm at the beach, for example.
Right.
You seeing those patterns can be so helpful because then you can go to those places or you can be in those environments where it's just so easy for those ideas to come. I love seeing those patterns. Yeah,
and it doesn't even have to be a physical geographic place, although it certainly could be. It could even be, I was reading this author who I love, or I was listening to this music that, you know, always puts me in a good mood or something. I mean, who knows what our patterns will be, where our best ideas come from.
Well, that's so interesting because a lot of people consider things like motivation and inspiration to be very fleeting. But what you're talking about here is actually finding a way to get inspired in a more deliberate and intentional way by seeing what the patterns are with the notebook and seeing like, where do I get inspired? You can almost just like create the inspiration right then and there. And like, we know we can do that with our thoughts, but in this way, it's even easier.
Right. Maybe, hopefully, right? Maybe it gives us a shortcut.
I have faith. Yeah.
I'm going to choose to just believe that's true.
Yeah, why not?
And see if it happens. Yeah, why not? Well, would you say that a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, you had resistance to journaling?
Yeah, like I had this journal my best friend got me for another birthday, actually. Same friend. And I did journal in there every so often. I tried to make it a daily practice, but it was just becoming difficult because I had so much resistance, right? So I think now that resistance is definitely gone. It's just like full of openness and curiosity. So I definitely had that resistance there. And now it's just like completely dissipated and so fun.
Yeah. So if we had to really break it down into a very simple bullet point, how would you say that you released that resistance?
I think for me, it was just being open and curious. And I think the way to get to that place is to replace the disempowering questions with more empowering ones. So if you hear in your questions, why can't or why didn't this work out? That's kind of a signal for you that you're asking yourself a disempowering question. I think I love asking myself, what if? What if this could be a journaling session that completely transforms my day? What if I get one brand new idea from this journaling session? What if this is just an opportunity for me to try something new? Because then even if it doesn't work out and you find that you hate journaling for some crazy reason, like you could still know that you gave it your best shot.
Yeah.
But I think that's the first step, is just replacing those disempowering questions with more open and curious and gendering questions. And then I think the second step is just to try different things, search up different prompts, see what works best for you. Again, that might be the computer, that might be just a blank piece of paper, lined piece of paper, whatever it is for you. And I think the third step is just to get writing. Just like set a timer and write and see what comes out for you.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, we're so focused on consumption, as I mentioned, right? Like social media is huge right now. TikTok, Instagram, so much consumption. It's like consumption overload at this point. So having a space for you to get your ideas out from your brain onto a piece of paper, it's really the opposite of consumption in that way. Because it's like instead of having that input, you're actually creating something in the world and having output. And, you might find that it's really helpful for you and it could be, your next most favorite hobby.
I love that you broke it down into those 3 steps, because for someone who maybe doesn't have any resistance to journaling, but maybe has resistance to something else, I think those steps still apply that you just described. Notice what you are thinking and believing. Like if you were thinking and believing, I'm not going to like it, I'm not going to be good at it, I'm not going to enjoy it, or I won't have anything to write. Notice that you're thinking those things. So about any other area of our lives, if someone is thinking, oh, I wish I could get a different job, but no one's going to hire me, the market isn't good, I don't have the skills, just notice those thoughts. And then you said, replace it with a question like, well, what if? Okay, well, what if someone does want my skills? What if the market is good? What if people are looking for someone with my qualifications? And then just doing it and see what happens. You'll never know until you actually put out the resume, fill out the online application, go to the networking event. So I think that is a great recipe for any area that anyone might have resistance, journaling or anything.
Yeah. And I think the key there is not expecting it to feel like extreme passion or inspiration, but just the sense of curiosity that's different than resistance and like obligation or this aversion, whatever it is that you were feeling initially, just feeling that vibrational shift away from that a little bit so that you'll at least start and see.
Yeah. Instead of just staying where you are and holding yourself back and not trying. Yeah. What about any other self-development tools or topics? Do you have any other things besides journaling that you like to do for yourself?
I think walking is such a powerful tool for, of course, getting exercise, but also self-development as well. I've started walking without listening to podcasts and music because, again, that's a very consumption-based activity, which, again, there's a place for that. And I love me some Taylor Swift, which is great. But at the same time, just going for a walk and exploring like the possibilities for yourself, and asking yourself those questions that are so empowering. What can I achieve with my day today? How can I make today better than yesterday? And just doing that, And I just love the idea of up-leveling the habits you already have. So if it's your work, for example, like how can I make my work more efficient and productive in a way that still serves me? And again, I think the baseline of this is powerful questions as we're talking about.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a good reminder. Powerful questions. Since you mentioned Taylor Swift and you mentioned podcasts, what do you love to recommend to other people for entertainment or for personal development or for work?
I love podcasts. I think find a podcast that really works for you. A lot of us drive or transit. That can be a very negative time for a lot of people. You're getting cut off in traffic or someone bumps you on the bus. But I think that can be a really good time to get sort of lost in a self-development podcast. I, of course, love the Life Coach School podcast.
I do
definitely
too.
just changed my life completely.
Yeah.
And find something that works for you. It doesn't even have to be self-development, just an entertaining podcast, a comedy podcast, something that fills your brain with ideas. Because I know I talked about how consumption isn't something I want to pursue all the time, but I think, again, there is a place for it. And when you input ideas that are useful and ideas that are serving you, it makes it even easier to output those useful, unique ideas as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you listen to audiobooks too, or mostly just podcasts?
I don't listen to audiobooks anymore. I used to, but now there's just something about holding a physical book and like concentrating on it that I really enjoy. So it's mainly just podcasts for me. But I do enjoy singing a lot. And I think journaling helped me kind of rediscover my passion for it, because for the longest time I had this idea, well, I'm not that great at singing, therefore I shouldn't be doing it. And I challenged that a bit in the past, but I kind of lost that a little bit too, where I'm like, just don't do it. You're not good at it. You're never going to make anything from this. But I had a journal entry where I actually talked about like, why should I not do something I love just because I'm not good at it, whatever that means, right? And now I'm like singing more consistently and just having fun with it. So I think that's another huge thing is pursue hobbies, even if you're, bad at them,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever that
If you
means. Like
enjoy it. Yeah.
if you enjoy, just pursue it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's so
So
much pressure to make like money off of your hobbies, but
yeah,
there's some things you can just pursue for
just
the
because
sake
you
of it
want
because it's
to.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's really good. And I do agree with you. I think frequently when we do something consistently or regularly and we talk about it and we're passionate about it, frequently people will say, "Oh, are you going to pursue that? You should still, open it up, you should sell it." And that for me a lot of times takes the fun out of it. I think it is more fun if it's just something that you do just for fun. So how
Mhm.
do you sing publicly or do you sing just by yourself? Do you have a karaoke machine? What's your singing practice?
Yeah, I have like a little karaoke mic, which is so much fun. I
Yeah.
sing with my friends sometimes. I do actually have a proper mic and I have one cover on YouTube. Yeah, it's a Taylor Swift cover. It was so much fun filming that. It was such a cute little aesthetic and I just enjoyed it so
What
much.
was
And
the song?
it was called The Moment I Knew.
Okay, I don't know that
It's
one. I'll have to look for
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
it's quite sad, but it's very like emotionally powerful. So I just
Mm.
love singing it. Yeah, I'm just getting excited talking about it. I think that's the thing. When you journal, it's a way of possibly rediscovering your hobbies and passions in other areas. You just learn so much more about yourself, things that you didn't know were inside. It's like bringing your subconscious into the conscious. And I think that is something that's so powerful. And I don't know of many other ways to do that besides journaling and like therapy and coaching. Like there are very few
Yeah,
things. And journaling you can just do whenever for free and it's the best.
it really is. What about, do you have a mantra or do you use affirmations for yourself?
Yeah, I have some affirmations. They're different like every single day. I think for me, the biggest one has been like the sense of commitment. Like I am committed to figuring this out. I've really tried to put commitment into my daily feelings list, if that makes sense. Like a
Mm-hmm.
feeling that I want to create every single day is commitment. And that doesn't mean I'm like obligated or that I have to do something. I'm committed to figuring it out. I'm committed to learning. I'm committed to growing in some way. And then just defining that really clearly. So, like, if I'm committed to growing, what does that look like? Does that mean having a little bit more water today? And that's been really helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice.
What about you? Do you have any affirmations
Oh, I
that
have so many.
Yeah.
I love to use mantras about abundance for myself.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
love to tell myself I'm set for life. To me, that's just
Yeah.
a shortcut way of saying I'm always going to be fine. I'm always going to be taken care of. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Even if right now this moment isn't amazing, or even if right now I just got a huge tax bill that I wasn't expecting, or
Mhm.
need to pay this expense, I know that I'm set for life. I know that I'll
Yeah.
always be fine. So that's
Yeah.
very reaffirming to me. And I like to say money comes to me.
Hmm.
It's just fun. And a friend of mine sent me some money the other day when we were out, and she said, "Oh, let me Venmo you." And I was like, "No, of course not. No." And then she did anyhow, and I was like, "What? Why did you send me that money?" And then I said, "Actually, no, thank you. I keep the money. Money keeps coming to me. I appreciate it. Just so you know, you're a conduit for abundance, and you just sent me some money." And she
Oh,
was
that's
like, "Okay."
beautiful. It just makes me
Yeah.
think of gratitude. That's
Yeah.
really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything will be okay, money will come to me. It's like honoring what you have right now, and then more of that just comes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, anyone who's listening right now who's not interested or focusing on money or abundance, you could replace money with anything else.
Mhm.
Creativity will come to me. Health will come to me, or whatever you want. You could just decide, I'm going to be healthy for life.
Mhm.
And then just live your life that way and take care of yourself and make decisions from that point of view. And
It's so interesting when you mentioned creativity. I thought about all of the times I research articles on like how to become more creative. I want to have more songwriting ideas and more blog topics. And going back to journaling, like that is the key, is just getting your ideas out on paper and exploring what's inside, because we have infinite wisdom inside of us. And I just think that's something we should honor.
And that's interesting. That brings up a question in me. I think, yes, I get a lot of ideas and I can write a lot of things down. And then a part of my brain will come in and tell me that's not a good idea. That's not that good. That's not worth it, or that's not good enough. So what do you think is the answer to that?
I would ask why, or good enough for who? What does that even mean? What if you don't have to share the idea with the entire world, but what if you just give it an opportunity to kind of manifest in whatever form you want? Filling out the, brainstorm notebook and going through those prompts just to go through the motion and kind of get an idea of like, what is it? Like, what is going on in my brain where I'm having these kind of new ideas? And even if nothing comes of them, that's still okay.
Yes. Right? I think that's the answer right there. Is I think a lot of times when I want to be creative, or I want to have a good idea, and then I tell myself, oh, that's not good enough. Like, that's me putting an expectation on the idea. Like, you better be good enough, little idea. You better serve your purpose. And what if it doesn't have to do anything? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the same thing like when I sing just randomly in the shower, like I'm not singing for anyone else or just in my room. It's like there's no purpose to that other than to express myself. And I think that's a huge point, is like journaling is a form of self-expression. There are no expectations. It's just a way of getting to know yourself, or not, like whatever it means to you. Is why it's valuable.
Do you sing to your dog?
I used to, but I don't think he likes it very much.
I think I love singing to a dog or any animal. I think I make up tunes. I use their name in it. I talk about what I'm seeing as I sing to them. It's very fun. And I just tell myself the animal really appreciates it.
Yeah, I sing a lot of like power ballads that are very emotional. So I think my dog thought I was in pain the last time I was singing to him. He got a little concerned, and I'm like, it's okay, I'm fine, don't worry. Especially with my facial expressions and everything while I'm singing.
You're wiping the tears, and the dog is literally like, is this going to be okay?
Honestly, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Well, then, maybe mix it up for the dog and some cheerful pop songs or made up songs. I like to take holiday songs and use different words, and make it like what I'm doing, like I'm chopping the vegetables, or you're the cutest dog ever, or whatever. And we haven't really talked about on this podcast how we met. We're both students of the same school, the Life Coach School. So tell us about you as a coach.
I just know I really want to help people. And I think the best avenue for that for me is helping people lose their mental weight. I thought I really wanted to just focus on weight loss, but there's so much more outside of just weight loss. We have this idea that when we achieve our goals, we're going to be magically happier. But then when we look back and think of all the goals we've achieved, it's nice, but we're not constantly in like the state of joy and awe when we think about them. So more than anything, I help my clients find joy in the journey and help them find the sense of happiness before they've achieved their goals while they're achieving their goals, So it's kind of what I do as a coach.
Yeah. That's so much better. Because then you get the benefits along the way, right?
Yes.
If you're finding joy in the journey.
Totally, because you can, of course, still achieve all these incredible goals, and that's so good and so fun. But there's so much more to it, because you don't want to have that expectation. Because I've heard from some people when they reach their goal weight, they're actually less happy because they had such a huge expectation for it, where they're like, well, I see the number on the scale, but I'm not happy. And it's because you're still thinking in the same way that you did when you weren't at that goal weight, or your thoughts are even more negative because it's like you had the expectation again. So,
So how can people reach you?
Yeah. So right now I am on Instagram at Zayne Khan Coaching. That's ZayneKhan Coaching. Or you can email me at ZayneKhanLifeCoach@gmail.com. That's ZayneKhan lifecoach@gmail.com.
Perfect. And we'll put that all in the show notes as well, so people can just click instead of having to write things down. Anything else we should talk about before we end today's episode?
Be open to the possibility of journaling.
Yeah.
It can be so life-changing. And even if it doesn't create this huge life change like how it did with me, it's an opportunity for you to try something new. And that's always great.
Yeah.
Like, again, for me, it's opening up all these avenues for other hobbies and passions and pursuits that I kind of put on the back burner because I thought careers is more like my career is far more important. Like, that's what I should be focusing on. Just give it a shot. Like, what's the worst that can happen, honestly?
Right. How long would you say you spend daily on journaling?
Yeah, I would say about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I enjoy every second of it. It's just like so fun. I never feel like stuck or blocked. And if I feel like a little bit stuck, I'll just like keep writing and something will come to me. So yeah.
Do you use any kind of special pens or stickers or bookmarks or any other ritualistic items around your journaling practice?
I really love just like vibrant colored pens. You know, I have like a pink pen and an orange pen and a lime green pen. It's just so fun to make it work for you and make it a really fun, enjoyable practice. And again, it may not be super fun at the start, but just be open to it for 3-4 days and see how it goes.
Yes, I love that. That's so good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm sure everyone has been helped by hearing your journey from a non-journaler or journal curious to now a journal lover.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you again, Zayne, for being a guest on the Release Your Resistance podcast. I had such a fun conversation with you, and I think everyone who's listening will enjoy hearing our conversation as well. And before we end today's episode, I want to tell everyone about some fun and interesting and helpful upcoming things that have to do with journaling and mind management, noticing your thoughts the way Zayne was describing. So here's what we've got coming up. The thing that I'm most excited and curious to talk about is my new subscription service called Prompt Postcards. You heard Zayne describing using prompts in a daily journaling practice, and if you're curious about that, and if you are someone who loves receiving fun physical mail in your mailbox, I have just the thing for you. I am sending out weekly postcards that contain journaling prompts or affirmations or inspirational or motivational quotes. So if you like to get mail, you can sign up and receive a postcard in the mail from me once a week. Keep the subscription as long as you enjoy getting the postcards. End the subscription when you no longer want them. It's just a fun way to connect and get something in your mailbox and have a little bit of inspiration or motivation or an idea of what you can journal about. So go to bexb.org/prompt postcard to get all the details and to start your subscription. The second thing that I want to tell you about that's coming up if you are listening right now in real time here at the end of March 2022, in the coming weeks, I am offering a few free workshops that you might find helpful and inspirational. So the first one is actually a makeup session of one that I did earlier in March. It's called Manage Your Mind, and it's going to be on Wednesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. Arizona time. And then the second one is a continuation or a sequel to the Manage Your Mind workshop, and that is called Thoughts Are Optional. So that's going to be helpful for you if you notice yourself thinking thoughts that aren't really helping you achieve what you want in your life. Both of these workshops, the Manage Your Mind workshop and the Thoughts Are Optional workshop, dive into how to notice your thoughts, how to figure out what you are thinking, and if you want to continue thinking that, and then what to do with that information once you have it. It really can change everything for you. It can help you in life, in career, in relationships, in business, in just your own personal feeling and self-concept about yourself. So I hope if you are available, you will join me for either or both of those free workshops coming up here in the next few weeks. You can find all the information and register so that you can get a calendar reminder at bexb.org/let's meet. And just another plug for Zayne, if you want to follow him or get his contact information, go to the show notes for today's episode at bexb.org/Zayne, Zayne. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing our conversation. I hope you continue on your own journaling journey, and let us know in the comments at bexb.org/Zayne what you thought about the transformation. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexb.org to see how we can work together.